Hello, 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 hello. I hope you're doing well. So one moment. So my voice is a bit off. Um, but this is just kind of what's been happening these days. So, you roll with the punches. It's not that bad to the point where I you know, feel like it's like at risk of getting lost. It was worse like 2 days ago. So let's dive in. So the only annoying thing is like it makes it sound like I'm less enthusiastic than I am a little bit. Um, but yeah, taking like make those noises. Annoying. Okay, Heather head. Let's go ahead. So I share screen because I like to. Oh shit! I draw a crystal. I like to kind of like meditate with my crystals when I do readings. Eyes closed a lot. So let's see. We got here. One second, I need to check one thing really quickly. Okay, so okay, very good, very good. Okay, cool. I just need to check one thing to verify something in relation to this magical reading. So, all right, so what do you got going on there, sis? I don't think I've ever called anyone sis. You have a 0 degree. Ooh, nice. You have a 0 degree ascendant. That's significant because it makes the ascendant or it makes everything the same from like whole sign to Astus. Hold on one more second. Okay, we're good. Okay, so yeah, you just got only the reading. Okay, so you haven't got the follow up. So you'll see if you want to follow up slash current astrology reading or one, um, or just one or both. Most people do both. You can decide that, determine that after, but yeah, like the only people that haven't been getting them lately because I just kind of introduced this um is just when it's like a financial constraint, But it's very very magical. Okay, so let's share the screen again. Okay. So yeah, 0 degree ascendant um can kind of even Scorpio it's interesting because it's like Scorpio rising you don't think of like innocence, but 0 degree ascendant you definitely think of like a level of like of innocence and when you mix that with Scorpio it's very very interesting um and yeah, so like a lot of times 0 degrees can be a little bit like a little bit naive sometimes like the energy itself because it's so new. But I've just noticed it being like very like yeah, very curious about the world and and just existence in general. And the Scorpio rising, that's gonna be even more emphasized. And you also have Saturn, second straight reading in a row with Saturn rising. Well, that's 11 degrees, but yeah, pretty much it's first house Saturn. And then Mars there too. Interesting. You were born in 84. Gotcha. Okay, so I'm just making a quick little tea as I speak. Yeah. So and then the moon is in nice, little comfortable Taurus, conjunct, no, not conjunct, I read that wrong. With Mercury close by, say 9 degrees away. And it's in the seventh house, the moon. So you gotta watch out for codependency with that one. With moon in the seventh house, for sure. That's a big one for codependency, I think. Not that you have that like I'm not making any claim. I mean, I just started, looking at this. I'm just saying that's one that I've seen show up a good amount. And the reason is that just by itself, which as you will see or have seen in other readings, I really don't know anything about your level of astrology. Everything is interconnected, so you can't just take one piece of the puzzle. It has to be looked at all together. But what I have definitely noticed is that tendency for the seventh house moon people to take too much of their what's the word? Emotional well-being, emotional nature, um, fulfillment, if you will, from the relationships. So, but also at the same time, they do feel like a big need for relationships to help them. So it's not a bad thing. It's just like the in being in Taurus, a very strong moon sign. It's gonna make it easier than if it was like Pisces or Libra. A sign that, aka like the ones that lack boundaries. But Taurus or Taurus moon's pretty good with boundaries, pretty good with self self love and meeting its own emotional needs and stuff like that. It's a very good moon placement, as you know, and it makes someone pretty grounded and reliable, pretty good head on their shoulders. And the end result is that they're able to be quite consistent in life. So then you're a Gemini, with your sun conjunct the North Node, but even more importantly, opposite the South Node. And the South Node has Uranus on it. Interesting. Ooh, I sense a, a past life story coming up here. Um, so 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 um Chiron is also there, and Venus is also there. And they're all in this little 6-degree range, the star of Gemini. So that is an interesting bunch. Would I call it a stellium? I mean, North Node's not a planet. Chiron, it's kind of like, eh. I mean, I would say it's kind of stellium-y. Technically not one, but it's stellium-y. Um, it definitely is a bunch of energy, a bunch of energy. I would say, yeah. Um, and then okay, so question A is how does Taurus moon and Gemini sun work together, right? Oh, my voice. Oh, and you have a 29-degree 12th house Pluto. Oof. Wow. Um, could you imagine if you actually think about like, you really can like learn so much about astrology, about natal astrology, by just living in the current time. Like, so Saturn is right now, you know, in March at least, it's gonna switch from Capricorn to Aquarius, right? Which is like this whole paradigm shift. And it's massive, right? It's really like speaking of like kind of, I'm not gonna go into it, but you've probably heard about it. And Saturn will also be changing signs, but that's not even close to as big of a deal because Pluto, it's like how many decades has it been in Capricorn? Yeah, it's been there a long time. I was born with it in Scorpio in 1990, and it doesn't have a set amount of time in each sign. Like it's because of the declination, blah blah blah. Um, Speaking of declination, okay, yeah. Let me just see. Let's see anything here. Let's hear the Uranus, um, contraparallel Sun, Uranus and Neptune, right? Yeah, and Jupiter. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's see if that even shows up in the chart. Um, no, I guess the Uranus one does, but not the Neptune one. So, um, basically, yeah. So the Sun in Gemini, conjunct the North Node with Chiron in Venus, and it's a very clear indication. I'll get into after I explain the Sun Moon relationship. And in essence, there is a big link between the so the moon in Taurus, it wants things a certain way, right? Um, some may call it a little bit inflexible, stubborn, but it's able to meet its emotional needs. That's kind of the part of the beauty of the Taurus moon. Um, it likes the simple things in life. It's not like this moon sign that's just like always wanting more and nothing's ever good enough. Like it's content. And there's a lot of beauty in that. There's a lot of really, really, really amazing energy in that because that's not how most people are. And Taurus, they can live simple lives or not so simple, but they can be content. Um, and not feel like they always need the new. I mean, they do like luxury, they like nice things, but like yeah, they save themselves some complications, I think, compared to a lot of other moon signs. Now, Gemini, on the other hand, is very dynamic. It is all about doing, 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 switching things up, um, nuance. It's very multi-talented, and the fact that it's in the eighth house speaks to the fact that, there's a scorpionic vibe to the chart. But as I was saying, I kind of cut myself off when I was talking about the 29-degree Pluto. I just lost my train of thought. It's just like, if you actually think about like how long Pluto stays in the sign, at 29.47, like it was retrograde, so it had already entered Scorpio, and then it had gone back into Libra, and it was retrograding. So it is a little bit different than like if it was like 29 direct for the last time, because it's going in the opposite direction. But it still is the 29-degree Pluto. Which is like a very karmic in the 12th house, like very, very, very karmic placement, very spiritual, very, very based on conquering new territories, and really like leaving behind the material world of Saturn and entering the real spirit world. So yeah, like I mean, I one of my best friends has the same sun moon placement as you. I know several people actually with it, just in different order. And I think it's like they're back to back signs. So um I think it makes someone like fun, interesting, funny, usually. Good sense of humor, like all that Gemini energy, right? Like intelligent, flexible with their mind, which is so huge to have that when you're when you have a Taurus moon, right? So I think it's a good combo, in my opinion. Even though it's not the same element and there's not really any connection between the two. I mean, it is, yeah, it's like not a semi-sextile, it's 32 degrees away. But regardless, yeah. Um, I think that those two work together by enabling one to basically, yeah, have like that groundedness, that ability to kind of show up each day consistently and whatnot, and then this other side of them that wants to mix things up, and that wants to not only mix things up on like but like it's Gemini, which can be very superficial, but it's in a very non-superficial house of Scorpio. So it's like meant it's like it kind of pushes you to take like this deep dive, and relationships are huge for you karmically, in the sense that they really, 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 really push you, um really push you, and you learn a ton from them. And the seventh house moon person, like I said, might have an obsession, is Venus unaspected. Yes. I mean, no, it isn't, 'cause it's with Chiron, but if you don't count Chiron, there's no aspects. Well, actually, yeah, there is. It's conjunct Sun and Chiron. But basically, there can be an obsession with relationships, um, emotional needs for them, but then the eighth house Sun person, which I have a eighth house Sun also, always wants to take things deeper, and they are here to do shadow work. I know it doesn't sound like so fun. Like, I'm not saying that's your only reason for being alive, but there is this big push towards shadow work. So that is that. Um, and yeah, like you'll feel throughout your life like you almost as if you've lived different lifetimes within this one. You look back on yourself at different periods of time and you feel as though like it was an actress playing you at these different times. That's how drastic the eighth house sun changes are. And as a curious um, Gemini that's so multi-talented, interested in so many different topics, so curious, like it's probably drastic. And what happens is difficult with that though, on like an interpersonal level, is that you do tend to outgrow people, places, and things when you have this eighth house energy or the Scorpio energy. Um, but then, so this is like where like I see like a little bit of a split, right? Psychological split is that the Taurus moon, it gives an emotional need for things to stay the same in a sense. It doesn't want all that change, right? Taurus is like I said, it's happy with how things are. So yeah, I'd be curious to know if you do decide to go through the follow-up session / current astrology reading, which I'll do for a huge discount. The Yeah, just let me know. But usually it would probably cost around 450 for both, and I would probably do it for I don't know, like definitely over $100 less. Probably 220, 230, excuse me, is what I would do for the current astro, and the follow up. I'd be happy to give, yeah, all that for like I'd do it for 80, for like 310 is what I would charge for that session. That's a 3 hour session. First hour is the follow up. We talk about everything related to this reading, and we cement all the information. We compare it to the real life, and then after that, it merges perfectly with into the current astrology, and it's a wonderful thing. And yeah, you can let me know about that. So anyways, yeah, I really have found a liking for this configuration of Gemini Taurus just because I feel like tends it tends to create people who are very Gemini at least, right, who are a lot more accountable than like what a lot of other Geminis are, like a lot more responsible, a lot more consistent. And then on the Taurus side, it creates Tauruses that are a lot more interesting and a lot more talkative and social and risk taking, right? Like one of my best friends, Lane, he has this, and he's an artist and stuff, but you never think he's Taurus. Like he's definitely not like stubborn, he's open to try new things and to kind of new thoughts. So that Gemini really gives them like this awesome fluidity. So then you say, okay, well what's the need of a Taurus moon, emotional need, right? And like where and how do they live within themselves? Well, they live within themselves in the sense that they want they live through their senses. So there is an emotional need for good tasting food, for a comfortable bed. It's ruled by Venus. Good sex, um, touch, smell. Like they really like Taurus moons. They have this really big superpower. A lot of the ones that I've known. And let's see the aspects. Ooh, you got the opposite with Pluto and Saturn. Damn. Okay, well, shit. This is gonna be a lot different. But like, every hard aspect is meant to be turned into a superpower, as you hopefully saw from a recent post of mine. And nothing in astrology is like a death wish or a curse. I mean, yeah, there's some people who have really, really bad karma, and that's just what it is, or they decide to take on a bunch of karma. But overall, I see I see the Taurus moon people as, yeah, being able to just enjoy the small things in life, and notice them too. But yeah, the thing, even as a Gemini, um, it can be a blessing if it helps ground you, if it helps, if you're someone who, with your North Node in Gemini. Oh yeah, it's conjunct your Sun exact. So that's crazy. Um, so that's literally saying that the highest potential of your life and your destiny is linked to the highest manifestation of Gemini energy in general, and eighth house energy in general, which is Scorpio. Mm. So when I see North Node on the Sun, I think, okay, well, this person had South Node opposite the Sun. Exact agree. And I tell myself, okay, South Node's the past life tendency. So when a sign is opposite the South Node, it means that, especially the Sun, it means that they were held back by this like insurmountable force, this larger than life, whether metaphoric or physical. And the Sun also is the father. So then we look at your Sun, we see, okay, there's an opposition to Uranus, and Uranus is on the South Node in Sag. And I think, okay, maybe this person was a witch in a past life or something like that. Perhaps they were like in some type of way ostracized, in some type of way ahead of their time and different. And Sun in this position, the father must have played a role in some past lives where whatever role he was, and it's a tricky terrain, this what I'm about to say, right? Because I don't want to say definitively your birth father and you have bad karma. What I want to say is that Sun opposite, like basically there was an insurmountable force that really made it so you couldn't shine in a past life. That's kind of the whole point of what I was trying to say. And in this lifetime, you are really, really meant to shine at the highest possible manifestation of Gemini energy, which is not gossiping, it's not lying, it's not trying this, trying that, trying this, trying this, trying this, trying blah blah blah, blah like until you tried tried everything and mastered none. And it's the opposite of scattered energy. It's about finding your true voice and exploring life in a very intellectual way, communicating with a lot of different types of people. It's about having a flexible mind that's always, looking for an update in their version of truth. And yeah, it's a curious person who wakes up every day and says, even if I like learned so much, I still know nothing. And I'm open to whatever the universe has to teach me. So then you add Chiron there, right? And that has even like a that has a big meaning, because one, it means that you're karmically you're meant to really heal yourself in this lifetime on a karmic level. But two, it means that you're meant to be a healer for others in this lifetime. Your pain with Chiron and Gemini, it revolves around not being heard, right? You have Mercury opposite Saturn, and your Mercury, it's yeah, and it's also opposite Mars. So when you're younger, you probably, even though it's in Taurus, which is a very like kind of logical, it's not like a wild Mercury sign. This is, why you get a reading by an astrologer like me instead of, because the connections need to be made. Like, because why, like, someone might think, okay, well, why is that so bad? Why would that lead to that? Well, the reason is that everything is connected in the chart. So, for example, the fact that the moon is, and I'll explain these aspects more, is opposite Pluto. It's opposite Saturn. What does that do? Right? That's part of it. Um, and see, ashwagandha thing. Um, so yeah, where was I? With Mercury, yeah. So the Mercury in the Saturn energy, it just usually means that the person was made to believe that their way of thinking was wrong. Usually around the early environment, but it's in the seventh house, so it could be with relationships. It could have been something that happened later in life. But then you also have Neptune and Jupiter, interesting, in the third. But if I focus on the Neptune in the third, and Jupiter, you could just be like a very intelligent, broad-minded person. But the Neptune can give you a little bit of a more spiritual way of speaking and thinking, spiritual slash vague, right? There can be a vagueness to your communication and your way of getting through. So if you were raised in kind of a culture that wants things a certain way, you know, even as a Gemini, the Saturn opposite Mercury, yeah, it can create restrictions around how one thinks, what one thinks about their own intelligence. And then that is what Chiron, which is your pain, is in Gemini. People who have Chiron and Gemini, they have to heal the throat chakra. It could also be a different story. It could be like around speaking your truth and feeling like you have to hold a lot of information in. It could be like something about, because Gemini is linked to sexuality, it could be something about sexuality. Like, yeah, like it's like I could totally see this in the chart. I'm not saying this is you at all. And by the way, I don't even know what you look like or anything about you. I purposely don't check anything about any clients. Even though you messaged me earlier, which was interesting timing, I made sure not to look at your, even like your mini photo. That's how dedicated I am to knowing nothing and to objectively giving these. And then when we hopefully have the follow up, and you know, even the current astrology is a big, big recommendation, then I can start to kind of compare and contrast. So, yeah. So that's a big piece, right? Is finding because like, and I think like I could see it be, like I said before, like it's seventh house, so it could be like in those very close, like not just partnerships, not just relationships. It could be like BFF relationships. I kind of pondered that um recently, and I came to the conclusion through my own thinking, not through learning anywhere, just through my own brain, my own intuition, my own just belief that BFFs would be a seventh house thing. So yeah, there can be trauma around that. And then Mars opposite Mercury. Mars is the planet of action, right? You follow me? Mercury is how we think. So if they're opposing each other, how we want to act with your Mars in Scorpio is at odds with how you think, how you talk, how you learn, and the way that you want to assert yourself in this world is different, right? That Scorpio Mars is all about, it's like the spiritual warrior. It's all about taking these like deep risks that are so linked to your eighth house energy, right? It's a very good placement, but it has Saturn on it. This is what's really interesting, is that your Saturn return was 1000% a launching pad for you. I just can't see any other way. Um, I can't see any other way. So yeah, with the Mercury there in Taurus and in the Mars in Scorpio, you have one of those parts is a more logical minded person who there's a trine to Jupiter, so that's actually a very good indication for intelligence and perspective and seeing the big picture and all that. But you know, who ran into opposition? Maybe it's like bullied. Like maybe you had like a way of speaking or coming across, or I don't know. Like I'm not saying like you're bullied. It could easily be like something like completely based on like a relationship where you were made to feel dumb, or you were made to not trust. You're like made to not trust your own thought process, like gaslighted. Like your way of thinking is wrong, just wrong. And then you have to go through a healing, and it could, I don't predict scenarios, right? I just give like possibilities, and then there's a million different ways that it could manifest within that. But yeah, the Mars opposition, the Mars in Scorpio you have is about finding truth. It's about going towards your own internal truth and not repressing anything. And the lunar side, so there's also, it's not an opposition by sign or by degree, but by element it is. So with this Taurus opposite Scorpio thing going on here in the 1st and 7th, I need to balance out the archetypes of the two, right? High Scorpio is someone who is resourceful, someone who doesn't reject the intense shadow work that they need to really like move forward in life. And high Taurus is heaven on earth. It's quite literally heaven on earth. Best metaphor for it. Just being content and consistent and grounded and happy. Day to day happy. So yeah, so there's definitely conflict between this part of your chart that wants so desperately, and your Pluto in the 12th house, like that's all about like the most deep change possible. It's the metaphor is that you're jumping off the material rock, because Saturn is represented by rock, jumping off the material rock of Saturn into the endless sea of Neptune. That's metaphor. So it's a deep one. It is a deep one. Hmm. So yeah, in 29 degrees, it's like in the last house, the last degree, it's like, it's definitely big time movement towards something that might be a little bit scary, in all honesty. You know, very, very much the whole uncharted territory analogy. And it's not easy. Not easy for a Taurus moon. So yeah, that's one big challenge. And then trusting your own intuition is another one. One of the shadows of Gemini is to kind of be all over the place. Anxiety. And of course you're very lucky it's your sun, not your moon, because Gemini moons tend to have a lot more psychopathology, while Taurus moon is like very low on the psychopathology list. Not that it's impossible, and you do have the oppositions I'm about to get into. But yeah, because like the Pluto and Saturn opposite the moon, we've seen that in, well, the Uranus is more of the bipolar, but I've definitely seen that in like borderline personality disorder. Not to like put you in a box if that is something you have, but I really like, I have 2 masters in psychology, and I like to put the two together. But yeah, like moon opposite Pluto is one of the roughest aspects you can have. Some say it is the roughest aspect that exists in all of astrology. Power, dynamics, and relationships are extremely pivotal, and it's extremely pivotal how you manage them and manage these very intense emotions that are swinging back and forth. So the whole Taurus moon stability thing kind of goes out the window when you have Pluto and Saturn and Mars, right? Mars too. Oh, it doesn't even show Mars. That's weird. I guess it's 15, so this doesn't count. Mars, yeah. But the whole point is that you're in these situations where it's an impetus, whether it's through your family, with your relationship, through your friendship, through whatever it is, it's an opposition that it the whole point is that it's forcing you into your shadow work. So this is like literally a direct just force into your shadow work. And because the opposition, the energy of an opposition is like this. Like, yeah, you have the option to handle this internally. If you don't, we're gonna create external events um that are gonna mimic what needs to change within. So you get the chance to, and obviously when you're older and you're more aware, like it's easier, but when you're younger, it's very tough. That's why it's such a hard one. And it creates someone who has very intense hidden emotions, and they just rise up the surface just at very random times. And with the Mercury opposite Mars, you see I'm piecing this all together. Um, it can just come out, and you're just like, what just came out? And that Mars and Scorpio, it knows how to sting more than anything in astrology. And Taurus in general can be content and fine, fine, fine. And you know the whole Taurus anger thing, right? Just like slowly explosion, like no other sign. Um, don't anger the bull. Yeah, it's literally like bulls. Like they can be really, really chill, and then you know they can also not be. Um, so yeah, it's very important to like therapy, like some form of healing. This astrology is massive. And remember, I'm saying this the same way I would say it to you at 18, 22, 26, 34, 35, whatever. Um, so yeah, a lot of times there's lots of projection. There's a lot of need for deep healing, and there's lots of projections that go on in like like the relationship, like in relationships. And a lot of times there can be like someone who like in a very unconscious way creates hidden expectations, and they're not aware of them obviously, and then they get very upset when they're not met. So yeah, it just there's the need for that like cathartic clearing, right? The purging of old emotional issues. Um, and just becoming secure within your own self, and just letting go. Surrender is the one word that rules everything here. Surrender. And in time, right, when more awareness, more security is formed, there's and then one thing about this too is like it can be very dependent on validation for others because it can feel powerless. Like and a lot of times as the moon, it could relate to the relationship with the mother that made them feel powerless in some way. Um, and because of that, they might really, really seek out, or you may have really seeked out validation from your girlfriends at school. And yeah, once you need less of that, um, that's in that's like kind of that security comes, right? That it comes when you're not relying on others, when you're only relying on yourself. And then when that comes, that's where like that whole empowerment comes. So yeah, someone who can like chase their life goals like crazy, with just insane um determination and willpower. But like the big thing is to understand that, in partnerships also, like, you're gonna need someone who's like a rock. You need someone who is like a rock, who understands that things can go back and forth, but it's something that can be contained, and that can be literally turned into a superpower. And yeah, so a lot of it is about like purging, emotional purging, karmic emotional purging. So then with the moon and Saturn, that one is way more about like melancholy. Um, that's another one of the most uh, difficult ones to have. And it's in the first seventh axis, so it's definitely um, relationship based. Like there's definitely an element to it that is trying to get you to look at the axis of Aries and Libra. Aries being too independent, too like it's just me. I'm all that matters, and Libra being too codependent. So finding that balance where that middle ground where you can be yourself, right? And your Venus obviously is in Gemini, so you're gonna need relationships that allow you freedom and lots of that make you curious, that keep your mind entertained. Like you will get bored easily. And lots of Venus and Geminis can get, or just like people that have lots of Gemini in general, especially Venus, they can get very like um sad when they feel like, they don't have any ill intentions and people think that they just use them. Like like Venus and Gemini is the kind of person that might date someone just because they're curious about like what they, about some ideas they have, or because of a conversation. And then the other person gets all in their head, like, oh, this girl wants me, blah blah. And then, yeah, I mean, technically that was true, but not that deep, not like on that deep of a level. Um, so yeah, um, some tough ones, some tough ones. But back to the moon in Saturn. It makes someone who, with mom, maybe, Jesus, dude. Um, yeah, it really, it can create like a certain tension with the mother. Um, Already the Pluto in Moon can create like a power struggle with the mother. The Saturn in the Moon can create like a very cold, strict mother, and the Pluto can create like a very dominant, like scary mother that is very like um surveillant and overbearing and maybe so overly protective that it just isn't good. So the good part about Moon opposite Saturn is after Saturn turn it, it does make someone very, very determined. Um, and they're able to just get through barriers, get through, they have a lot of emotional barrier. I always call them boulders in front of their path that come up when they're younger. But then they get past them. Then they get past them, and everything gets easier after Saturn turn. But before that, they usually had like nearly every single person that I've met who has something like this feels as though they had to like grow up really early, like they had to really grow up really early. Whether it was like taking some really intense responsibility because like something happened with a parent or the parents are always working or it creates something like that. Maybe the parents, one of them was like a drinker or both, or like into drugs, or like it can be all kinds of things, or abusive. So this one is big for perfectionism too. And it can show up in another way where the parent, usually the mother, just has like very, very it's just, very, very authoritarian. Um, and like just constantly raising the bar of what is acceptable performance wise. Um, and that just is no good. Um, yeah, it's just no good. So, there's a big need with these aspects to kind of break away from, I say mother, but it's like the traditionally more feminine parent, of course, right? So in some cases, like my own, like my dad is my moon, my mom's my sun. But yeah, like with this one, there's just like this big, like it's very good for being responsible, being a leader. But the big thing I always see with this one is self-criticism. Someone who is their own worst enemy. And that's why meditation is so helpful here because you can sit down and stop your mind, right? And realize, especially with that Mars and Scorpio that is so internally investigative, it can make you really just like if you're able to really just tune into the highest vibe of Taurus moon, which is just sitting, just sitting, meditating and being calm and listening to your internal rumblings. If that can be done, that's where the downloads can come, right? And that's where, you can start to see that self-talk. So yeah, not overworking, like just treating yourself like you would treat your best friend. Self-compassion is something, it's a lifelong mission. So yeah, I think with both of these, there can be a tendency to try so hard to hold on to something, someone, especially seventh house. Pluto can create like an obsessive energy in relationships, even though it's in, Venus is in Gemini, like, it can create like a serial dater, someone who at the lowest, and maybe I'm speaking to the old you or something, I don't know, maybe not at all, but like I'm just telling you like possible manifestations. Um, break up and then just move on to the next one. That kind of thing, never truly facing what they really need, which was time alone. So yeah. And it's also, oh yeah, another thing about this one is that it makes intimacy really difficult until the Saturn returns. So like the chances of like a real serious relationship happening. I mean, not like a really like, when I say serious, I mean, yeah, you could be dating someone for 4 years, but like a real soul relationship happening before Saturn return is It's quite low. Maybe even lower if it was Venus squaring here. But yeah. And it just because it makes vulnerability, and even as a Taurus moon, which will help it a little bit, it makes vulnerability very difficult, emotional and physical. Physical a little bit less, being in Taurus moon, but still. Yeah, so it's very tumultuous. So then, with your Scorpio rising, right? We talk about, okay, so now we understand the moon, being in Gemini, being a Taurus, a lot of your area of experience in life is relationships. You learn a ton from them. And then those take you to other areas, and also seventh house can be client, like this is a seventh house relationship. It can be clients, it can be enemies. Every house means a lot of things. Open enemies, not hidden ones. 12th house. But it like one really, really good way to heal it is to do work where you work with clients like this in a healing way. And you teach them how to find their own voice and their own power, because that's like you are trying, your North Node is on your sun in Gemini in the 8th house. You are meant to go deep within yourself. You're meant to have been pushed into your deepest darkness. And it's a very incredibly spiritual chart with the Pluto in the 12th at 29 degrees. You're like literally coming to the end of a big karmic cycle. And with Scorpio in the first, like just like a complete reshifting all the time of like your outer personality, of your outer being. It's like continuous like reshifting. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So important stuff. Um, you will definitely, as I was saying, like it just happens where you just outgrow people, and it's uncomfortable if you live where you're from, you know, because you have people from your old days that expect you to be the old you, and you're not. I think boundaries. It's easier for girls, I think. I think my voice is getting a little bit better. Um, so yeah, then yeah, and then there's more of that like with that first house ruled by your chart ruler Pluto, which is right here, 29 degrees, 12th house. It's all about letting go. Like your whole life, like the key word of this chart is letting go and surrender to the universe, to source, to allowing yourself to find different ways of self expression, and listening to different philosophies of what is truth and what is not truth, right? That is what's important. Um, so yeah. Neptune third house, Jupiter third house. You could be a gifted communicator, but it might just be in a very spiritual way. And also Neptune or Jupiter third house is, in Capricorn. So that's very good for success when you're headed in that North Node way, right? So you being a psychologist would be like, if you're a psychologist, it'd be like, perfect. Um, but you know, life is not about like just your career, you know. You can give to society by raising kids so well, you know, like that can be a part of one's dharma, male or female. So I don't like to like call midheaven career, but it is in Leo. So it's ruled by the sun in the 8th house. So that would even speak further to like psychology or something related to going beneath the surface, being big when it comes to the career. Aside that, um, where do I go next? I just whenever I see eighth house Chiron, I always imagine that you had to probably go through some type of loss in your life that was very karmic in nature, and that in some weird way it pushed you towards um that depth that I keep talking about, that snake shedding the skin, that death rebirth transformation. Because in order to die, like the Taurus moon is just happy with just chilling and having things be the same. So yeah. Uranus in the second house, South Node conjuncted. That can create. There's a little money karma here. I mean, all the eighth house stuff is all good. Venus in the eighth, Sun in the eighth. That could be like good for like inheritance or marrying rich or something along those lines. That North Node conjunct Venus means that all your relationships will be extremely faded. I also have the same placement. I can definitely vouch for that. They will start in ways where you're just like, what were the fucking odds? And you know, there's fate completely rules your relationships, but that doesn't mean that you're powerless and that like they, like you still have free will. It's just that there's different timelines of fate, you know. There's different timelines of fate, and yeah, it's just very important to choose the right ones. Um, Very important to choose the right ones, and to understand that the tendency that can come from I say from the seventh house moon, from seventh house moon taking a lot of your emotional well-being from relationships. It's codependency. So what's the key? I think you can guess what I'm about to say. It's having that relationship with yourself. Cliche, I know, but how true is it? Um, Besides that, with relationships, Juno in Cancer, in the ninth, so you might be interested in someone from a different culture than you. You might meet, someone who is very adventurous, very philosophical, but also very homey, a mix of the two. Of course, any Gemini. So yeah, there's the split. There's the part of you that needs that, like, and your Venus is also conjunct Chiron, so you could be like a relationship therapist, like very good one. Um, but you also could be any kind of healer possible. Um, Even the healing arts, like like you could like be like an artist that heals through your art, or you heal yourself through your own art. It doesn't have to be like all professional and like all about like status and money. It's not how energy works, is it? I mean, on one level it is, I guess. But like it's not. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Um, very inquisitive, very inquisitive, very inquisitive. Really wanting to know the depth, the you know the. So I really hope we get to do at least a follow-up session, because I would love to talk live about. I mean, well, I would love for us to have that conversation where we can see what's resonating, what's not. Well, usually there's not that much that's not resonating. It's just because astrology is a deck of cards, and the things that won't quote unquote resonate will be because of because of your free will, and you decide to go against that direction. Yeah, I definitely think that you're like a gifted communicator, but you're very inhibited in it. So that's another big thing is like the letting go also has to do with allowing yourself to be weird, allowing yourself to be a weirdo. Um, but there's so much fear of that because the South Node conjunct Uranus. I mean, there's lots of been there, done that. Not weirdo in a bad way. I mean, like just like um, so it was just different, you know. But these squares. Let me just check. Six, no. So it comes naturally to be like the odd one out, the one that's a little bit different, a little kooky, but you know, you can embrace it in this lifetime. You can embrace it, and it really is like this past life genius energy. But there's a fear of it because in past lives you were banished and ostracized because of it. So in this life, you might be a little bit more afraid to show your true colors. Like imagine if you were a witch that was burnt, you know. But I don't know if I'm getting that vibe of the witch burnt. I mean, I definitely think that like um I definitely think that you're I often see like a lot of past life conditioning in people's charts, and I don't really see that in your chart. I think I see you as like someone who's just always been a free thinker, but in this life there could have been some conditioning. One second. Yeah, so in this life there could have been some conditioning. So yeah, breaking that is tough. One of the main things is like the part of fortune is in the 11th house in Virgo, and it's about finding a consistent, loyal group of friends. Um, Tribe. Not about how many, it's about the quality and the ability to really be able to consistently depend on them. You were meant to go through what you went through. Um, all of it was planned by you, your spirit guides, and your higher self. And you know, having that 0 degree ascendant, as I said, with the Mars conjunct Saturn, it will have made you know, lots of trial and error. You know, that was kind of probably a theme early in life, which led to some shame, which led to you know, to to the events that eventually led you to the complete ego death through transformation. And there's probably been multiple levels of it. You know, it's not just one level, it's multiple levels. Um, so let's see here. I need to turn this F.LUX on because my eyes are hurting. I need that blue color. Where is it? Let's This one that was so cool. Yeah, the sky. Right? No. Oh yeah, this is it. I don't even know if you see it. Oh, it's so much better. Wow. Okay. So, oh, 1 second. I need to check my phone really quick. 2 seconds. Okay, that is. Sorry, I just had to check an email. It's like some family business. Not really business. Not like my. It's just something I have to answer to, and it's very complicated. Um. Okay, I see. Okay, close. So yeah. I just think there's tons of avenues in this chart. Um. But one of the ones I would go to the most is writing and communicating and even if you like film yourself, doing like a daily vlog where you just film yourself, that's like, I mean, I know Neptune is not really showing up, but like um well, it's trying your moon, which is very nice. It's a very pleasant placement for imagination and creativity. But yeah, like just doing things like that. I think writing is a big one for you, and you could be. I feel like you have a natural talent because you have retrograde Jupiter, which makes you like a very deep thinker, a very internal though. To be able being able to get it out is very important. It's just energy. So think about your energy is like it's like there's stuck energy inside you. That's what anger is. That's what everything that exists is stuck energy. So we as humans become more dense creatures as we allow more stuck, which is Saturn, right? Saturn is rock. So stuck, like we want to be liquid, we want to be flowing, we want to be light beings, light beings, light beings, or light beans, it depends if you like Mexican food or not. Oh God. Um, But yeah, so it's just very interesting. Um, very interesting. Wait, hold on, sorry. Why do I have to do this now? Okay. Okay, I just said no more, no more, no more. Okay, so where was I? Well, I'll wrap back around to where I was. But yeah, like overall, like you're meant to really shine. And like the whole thing with writing and communicating is massive. Opening the throat chakra, understanding your intelligence, getting past that Chiron wound, and then that opens everything up for you as an eighth house healer, which is a very healing house, eighth and 12th, right? And you're able to literally heal people psychologically and like really go deep into people's unconscious and your own unconscious. And but like because you're Gemini, you're able to communicate it really well. And you're able to like be super intelligent when it comes to like learning the theory and learning all this stuff of whatever you study, or whatever you do for a living. Which is very important to you because you have Leo midheaven. So that makes career really, really important. It makes someone would really want to succeed and be well seen in their career. So yeah, important stuff. Okay. So and then with aspects, so we went over those. Over that, over that. So yeah, your relationships will be like very intense, very dramatic. I think you're probably laughing hearing this, like eighth house Venus with Chiron there. Very karmic, very dramatic, very intense, and but also very healing and very clearing. And I believe that, you know, as a seventh house moon, perhaps you've had many relationships in your life, but perhaps each one you had led you to the next one, which maybe you're married right now, and maybe you feel as though every relationship was, in essence, clearing karma, enlightening your spiritual. Because I was talking, okay, I remember what I was talking about was density, right? So like each one is kind of clearing, like the whole thing with your chart, your energy is clearing that density and making you like a light being. Literally made the same mistake. It's just my voice. Like I'm gonna try to say a light being. See, like say it just comes out wrong. Um, I'll take it if that's like my one issue with my voice. So yeah, death rebirth transformation. How long have I been going? I still have some more stuff to do. Let's put my face on for the rest. Um, so yeah, just like also networking is something that is important and that comes really easy to you. Um, and yeah, like I think you'll really want to like seek that professional status, but like with Neptune there, in the third, I think that it's like this real ability to communicate through like the more right brain, you know, like artistic and spiritual pursuits. Um, and there can be like lots of mental confusion that comes up in a scattered mind if you try to go too much in that like um matrixy kind of way, you know. But you still are super capable, so like whatever you put your mind to, you can do. Like just because of all the Saturn stuff, like you've been through everything, and like what happens in the Saturn return is that the Saturn like tough energy goes away, and you're stuck with the determination, you know, the determinism, which is fucking amazing. Um, okay, so then I always want to know about series. So series is kind of like a second moon sign, if you want to put it like that. Um, and in Aries in sixth house, it's like it's not as important as the moon, obviously. It's like how you feel nurtured and how you nurture. So you feel nurtured when people give you independence, and when people um yeah, like really allow you to be independent, right? And you also nurture people by giving them that space, um and allowing them to be their like childish selves. You feel nurtured when you can just be your childish self, your inner child, as they say. I wish there was a different word for it. It's just like, you know, when you say a word too many times. I mean, I don't know what you do for a living, but like if you do something like what I do, which is, you know, in your chart, um there's just certain words you actually, I guess as a therapist, you listen more, but there's just some words that I wish I could. Maybe I'll just create like a new word of my own. I'll start making words. I've always done that anyways. I've always been a namer. I've always named every pet, and I've always been. It's like a weird talent to have, you know, like being really good at naming things. Like I don't know, it's weird. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna start making them words. The series in 6,000 areas, yeah. So it's like also like you know that makes it so you really feel nurtured when there's like a structured daily routine in your life when you're like feeding yourself good food, drinking good water, getting good exercise, and like your schedule is kind of laid out in a nice way. It's very Virgo-y. You like that, and like chores when the house is looking good, stuff like that. Taurus moon, it likes things stable. So that series, yeah. And it also makes you very warm in your service towards other people. So, yeah, I talked about Juno, Vesta, um, Vesta, the flame of life. It's really it's one of the four major asteroids, right? So, let me think on something for a second. Yeah, so I'm just looking at something, I'm trying to make a connection here. So yeah, I think like that's the in Cancer in the ninth is interesting in your chart. 'Cause it's right with Juno, and it makes one in the ninth very focused on discovering higher truths, like the big three questions: where do we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? And yeah, like it can also make one sidetrack by having like fanatical belief systems. But in the end, there's a commitment to sharing that philosophy or those philosophies and those truths that you found, right? So it really gives that push. But then it's in Cancer. Um, so it's interesting that these two asteroids are there because like this one, it makes you very it's all about family, right? It's all about the home. It's like and it makes one very, very committed to that. So I wonder if there's a split between like the expansion part of you, and I know there has to be like this very expansionary, like like risk taking, healthy risk taking is, um, and it can be dangerous with Moon square Pluto. Good thing it's not Mars. I just had a client that had like Mars, Pluto, Mars. Like I was like Uranus. Like oh god. Um. So yeah, vesting Cancer, like ninth house. I think like you like your work to be very like philosophical, but you also it's conjunct Juno, so maybe you like could work with your life partner. That's kind of something I just got. Or like have like a family business or something like that. But yeah. Um Interesting. Because the thing with that also is like any cancer, like even Vesta cancer, it's like if you feel hurt, you can like withdraw, like the whole crab going into the shell if like those closest to you hurt you. Um, so yeah, and I mean that's shown in your chart that probably has happened. So what about Black Moon Lilith? Well, guess what? It's conjunct Pallas, um, in the fifth house in Pisces. Let's start with Pallas, the last of the four asteroids they talk about. The four main asteroids. So fifth house Pallas. Pallas is it's like the third eye. It's like the wisdom seeker. Um, so in Pallas and Pisces, I mean, just think about it. It's just psychic, like meditative mind, merging your mind with the universe, being able to heal through your words, right? So it's very artistic too. In the fifth house, even more creative and original ideas, and just very artistically talented, and um, yeah, it's very nice. But then, what about Black Moon Lilith? That's like your unhealthy like potential pitfall. Um, one second. I'm so sorry. I keep saying 1 second. I go up and answer class in 7 minutes, but I'm still rolling my readings. I just got hot and I just like can't, like if I'm hot on readings, it's just like it's been hard these days for me to get into this zone I'm in now. So yeah, it's like I kind of just have to keep going. I can't just do like I did in the old days and do like one reading or two. Even this is my second. Like I need to do another one after this. I mean, I, we'll see, but like I, I definitely can. I could do two more. Um. So yeah. Anyways, whole point is that Black Moon in Pisces is about escapism. So you have to really, really watch out for escapism and the tendency to um, basically not face reality, right? Because of all these hard like aspects you have, there can be a tendency to not face reality, plain and simple. So yeah. Okay. What have I not touched on? I think I touched on everything. I think we've gone through this, gone through that, this, that. Okay. Also, yeah, Uranus second house by itself can make someone like it can make income go up and down, and it's linked to like money karma because it's conjunct South Node. So um like you can have like money one moment and it's gone the next, and it can also make someone like very, very smart and like have like these genius kind of money making ideas and schemes, but they can just be like your Venus is in um it's in Gemini, so you can be an ultimate spendthrift. um so you really got to watch out for how you spend, especially like when things are good money wise, because yeah, um save for rainy day type thing. But also you're in a second house, a lot of times it makes minimalists, people who are just like, you know what, screw this, I don't want a bunch of stuff. um but the key is that once you reach a point of spiritual involvement, if maybe you've reached it, where you're not caring, you care more about, I'm sure you see my videos where I talk about the metaphysical value of your actions in your life being more important, the invisible being more important than the visible. Like the fact that I don't even count, not to pat myself on the back, I'm just like, it's an obvious example, right? Like the fact that like, it's 1 hour 35 in this reading and it's whatever. Like that's an example of metaphysical value. Like I'd rather have you get the best reading possible than like cap it an hour and charge you extra. Like I could give a shit. So yeah, like up and down money karma. All right, let's take a look at the stars. And then we'll be done. Then we'll be done. Done, 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 done. I have two sets. I'm not even gonna show you this. It's stressful. It's like there's so many freaking. There's no way to make it bigger. There's no way to zoom in. There's so many points on one chart. Maybe I'll show you just so you know. Oh my god, I thought my backpack behind me was my cat, Mika, who like stares at me in such creepy ways. Times cute creepy. This is what I'm looking at, and this is not even all of them. I'm just looking to see if there is a connection here. I like this lighting actually. Well, I can't really tell what it actually looks like for you. Very blue. Okay, so ascendant obviously 0. Well, actually, I didn't talk about how well Pluto is rising for you. That gives you like so much power as a Scorpio rising. Actually, like you walk in the room, and people just notice you, and it can create enemies also, because people can just be like intimidated by you and just feel like this, like you're just like super intense. So that is important to note. It has this little thing in it. Let's say. Okay, so anyways, let's look. So yeah, you'll assert yourself very strongly in different situations. Um and yeah, it could be very, very powerful for your body too. Like you can be very empowered by things like martial arts, for example. Mars has 15. Oh, I didn't even talk about having Mars retrograde. So that's very interesting. Okay, so now I didn't even see that. Am I tripping? I need to go back. Or is that some other thing in retrograde? Yeah, Mars retrograde. I can't believe I missed it. Well, I didn't miss it, but yeah. So this is actually speaking about how in past life you either like overused or underused your action, like your Martian quality of action. So based on what I see, my guess is that you actually I didn't even think, I just talked. I was gonna say overused. Um I mean, yeah, South Node's in fire, and your North Node's in Gemini. So yeah, you're trying to become more decisive with how you act. So I would say like overused. Um Especially since it's in Scorpio, which is making, yeah, it's making you like really, really think about how you want to act and how you want to like what you want to care about. So yeah, it's definitely like that retrograde Mars is, it's pushing that energy inward, that act, that, and sometimes it can be even though it's in such a strong sign like Scorpio, it can sometimes be a little bit frustrating because it can make one feel held back, right? It can make one feel like they can't, usually in water signs it can make one feel like they can't express themselves fully. One second, I need to pause. I think my girlfriend might have brought a class. It's 8. Your class is at 8, right? Okay, I guess I did not stop the recording at all. Anyways, I thought I hit pause. No, I didn't. Whatever, who cares? Yeah, so let's see if there's any stars. Yeah, that's kind of the Mars retrograde thing. It's forcing you to look inward and, at least at the start of your life, to really determine how you want to like act, how you want to be, what's the right way to act, not be overly impulsive. Okay, so okay, yeah, see one thing. Yeah, so Quar is like about like just a very unique connection with the universe, and you have your Mars conjunct it. So yeah, it's very transformative. And I'm still trying to find something. Okay, here it is. So yeah, so Mars. Uh, yeah, so it shapes a new perspective or horizon. Um, so hard to find information about these, but yeah, like overall, like it's about seeing perspective and seeing the bigger picture more than other people. Um, so ascendant, nothing. Um, Alpheka, which I just had, with Saturn. Let's see if there's anything on that. You know, these are all fixed stars. Like there's so many of them, it's ridiculous. Um, and I only have like the ones that are the most important. So Saturn conjunct Alpheka, studious, popular, economical, but poor. It's not like a constant thing, right? Um, and I kind of have to like decode what these mean because it's all such an old definition. It means like probably like from like humble beginnings potentially. Benefits from elderly friends, strong but well-controlled passions, poor health, love disappointments, but varies. Above own station, few children, but harmonious ties with them. Okay. So, okay, nothing. 932. So your Uranus is like just out of range of Antares. I mean, it's like Antares is so powerful in the four row of stars that I want to see if there is anything on Uranus and Antares, and if it resonates, it resonates. If not, it doesn't. It says abnormal, extreme ideas, hypocritical lies, and exaggerated, extremely socialistic, incites riots, lawlessness, and anarchism, are in danger of imprisonment on this account. Occasional poverty, disharmony with relatives, more than one marriage, unfavorable for children, violent death. And every single, like, you have no idea how many says violent death. Like, it's like literally half of them do. So it's just like, ignore that part. And then this is a better definition. This causes spasms through the sciatic nerve and down through part of the thigh. It's not painful, but it's unstable as a person will shake slightly when they try to put weight on that side. Hops would be of great help and should be taken 3 times per week in a herbal tea such as chamomile, which would relax the muscles. Okay, that's random, but if you have that, there you go. Okay, let's see here. Wow, it's so crazy. So I'm a Hawthorne alien. I was told by a psychic this. Um, and the client I just had her sun exactly conjunct Hathor, and you have your moon exactly conjunct the asteroid called Hathor. Do I know the connection? No. This is like the only asteroid besides Merlin, which I have a special connection to. Merlin and Hathor are the only two that I just added without knowing anything about. Just because I have connections to both of them. Okay. So yeah, that's just kind of random, and I have no conclusion of what that means. Could mean nothing, but just want to put that out there. Hades conjunct Venus. Basically, you find your own shadow in relationships, and that's where the growth comes, as I've said multiple times. Now the stare. So yeah, you're born at 6 Gemini. Too bad you weren't born at 9 Gemini. 3 days later. Well, I guess the sun isn't like so important for the fixed star. It has to be so close to like, yeah. Um, but yeah, even born like 3 days before Aldebaran Day, it's like very lucky, very fortunate, you know. And then I think that's in the midheaven. I can't even read these numbers, they're so tiny. I'm just gonna search. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything with 3 Leo, so yeah. That is, yes, that's pretty much it. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you know, you booked with just the reading. Maybe you were just like trying to see how I would do. Wow, 148, jeez. But yeah, as I said, like the only people who like, you know, don't or like who haven't been booking the follow-up plus current astrology, it's when it has more to do with money. That's pretty much like everyone has been doing it and enjoying it, like more than enjoying it. It's been like an extremely amazing 1 hour follow-up. We go over all this stuff. We cement everything. We build on themes. Um, and then we move straight into like all the current astrology, which I do all in one reading that usually lasts around 2 hours. So yeah, thank you so much. And it's literally super early in the morning here, but I haven't been able to do readings for like days. Like I've been in a funk, and I'm finally actually like on fire with readings right now. So the question is, do I keep going? Do I stop? I don't know. Anyways, thank you so much, and we shall be in touch, and hopefully do that with the reading. But regardless, it's a pleasure. All right, bye bye.